You're listening to Real Coaching Radio, building a positive network.
Welcome back. If you are just tuning in, you are listening to the Be a Radio Show Host Superstar on Real Coaching Radio Network, and I am your host, Coach Steve Toth, and your executive producer. And what we're talking about today, our theme is the 10 things every radio show host needs to know, and also how to generate more callers to your show. And I would like to thank all of our syndication channels, and that being Stick'em, Block TV, RCRN, MyRX for Living, Kai TV, and Receiva Internet Radio as our syndication channels. Welcome to all the listeners. Give us a call on our VIP line at 303-872-0503. Also, you can contact us and get patched into the show via Skype from anywhere in the world just by sending us a connection request at Real Coaching Radio, and that is one word. And if you like Twitter, you can do the Tweety thing at RCRN. Send us a question or a comment. We would love to have it. And also, I would like to invite you to support us. Support us to build a positive media network. And how you can do that is you can become a guest, you can become a radio show host, you can become a premier member, or a frequent blog contributor on our website. So join us at realcoachingradio.net. It is free. So let's get back to the 10 things every radio show host needs to know. And I think before the break we left at number 5. So here's number 6. The audience will not get you unless you speak to them as though they are 8-year-old children. I disagree. And actually, I think we had this happen on several of our shows in the last 4 years when people were making that recommendation that you should be talking to your listeners like they were 8-year-old. Unless it's really a technology show, or it is a difficult subject matter, then maybe I agree. But if it isn't, then I think I think what you rather be doing is you must learn the demographics of your listeners, and you must know it better than you know your own. And what do I mean by demographics? I mean by you got to know who they are, male, female, Caucasians, and all the other areas. You got to know who you're talking to. If you have a lot of Spanish people listening to your shows, then maybe you want to consider somebody also doing some translations for you. Same thing, you got to know what age group they belong to. You got to know what income bracket they belong to. You got to know what education level they are at. And once you know all this information, then you know who you're talking to. So that's my recommendation about number 6. That brings us to number 7. Should you ever risk speaking over the heads of some of your listener? And my response is, once in a while, yes, you can. Because the best way to express a thought or communicate an emotion, if it leads to you to a big word and you find yourself wondering if some listeners won't get it, don't worry about it. Go ahead anyway, because most people will get you, especially if the educational level of your listeners are high. You don't need to worry about it. But again, it goes back to you knowing who you're talking to. Number 8, we have already covered earlier from a question from one of our chat rooms. And that was about how often should you give out your contact information. So that brings us to number 9. Is there such a thing as a good radio voice? That question has been asked of me a million times. And the answer is yes. It absolutely helps. However, I know some very successful radio show hosts. One happens to be right here in Denver, and I'm not going to name him, but he's on 630 KHW, and I'm going to give you a heads up. He's an attorney. He has one of the most obnoxious voices that I know. However, he succeeded, and he's been on the air for many, many years because he has great content and he gives people a reason to listen. So that's the key. Don't worry too much about your voice, because if you have great content and you can give people a good reason to listen, they will forgive you if your voice sounds a little off or obnoxious. So that brings us to number 10.